March 21st. Trips and Traps, Andy Serling, Richard Migliore.
Well, it's good to be here. We've got a kind of a short menu today, but a couple things to talk about, and we'll do our best to make it interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you got to try to find races we think are worth looking at. We're not going to feed you a bunch of races that we don't think are going to help anybody. So we found a couple of races from Sunday, March 15th, beginning with the second race. And we want to talk about a horse, the 5 Hunter Gray, and admittedly a little bit of sour grapes on my part because I had bet this horse. But I feel like there was a situation where this horse, the Gray right there, Richie, could have won this race.
Well, I don't think it's sour grapes at all, and you know I would call you in if I thought that. The horse has run on his mind. He broke very cleanly, and you're going to see he's going to be put to stout restraint by his rider, Noel Beato. And it's hard to come up with an explanation of why you'd want to take this much hold and take yourself out of the race, Andy.
No, I can't figure it out. And not surprisingly, the horse that went to the lead won. The horse that's outside of it ends up finishing second. So it's a race dominating the front end. And the winner of the race paid $19. So it's not as though it was a heavy favorite. But that horse, an adept ride by Taylor Rice, taking advantage of the situation. Whereas this rider not only didn't take advantage of it, he seemed to do just about everything almost within his power to prevent it from happening.
Well, now he's going to ride up in behind horses, and again, underscoring how much run this horse has on his mind, and then run into trouble, and then he over-exaggerates the trouble. I mean, you're getting up on heels, but think back to Ramon Dominguez riding up on heels and how smooth, and then this is the complete opposite. Now, I hate to be this hard on this rider, and I tried to think about it. I went back and watched this horse and said, well, it's not a good race. And then, frankly, some of these are bad horses, right. But that's all the more reason when a bad horse has run on their mind, allow them to run.
Right. The cheaper horses, and we've talked about this before, they don't have that many gears in them. You've got to let them run or they're going to sulk.
Well, exactly. And again, once they have that thought process, they want to go forward, you have to allow them to go forward, because if you take it away from them, a lot of times you don't get them running again. Now, he got running again and then ran into trouble. I've noticed this kind of recurring thing with Noel Beato. He doesn't seem to anticipate where he's going to go when he does get a horse running, and it lends itself to getting in trouble. This isn't an isolated incident.
No, it really isn't, and it's unfortunate. Hunter Gray's in good form, and for a cheaper horse, you got to strike while the iron is hot. One more chance for him, perhaps a rider change, a similar field and a different kind of trip. He could easily beat those horses. I'd love to see him in against Aaron again. It was the 4-5 favorite, because I believe he would beat that horse, and I think you agree. I'll get you to bet him that day as well. We're going to go right away and roll over to the third race, the very next race, and this was a race where a horse, this is no sour grapes. I said it on the air, and I believed it. I did not like the 6 Fleeting at all. He was 17-1, almost 18-1, so I wasn't exactly theoretically clever in there, but it was a very bad opinion because of Fleeting ran the best race in here.
Well, excuse me, I have to cough, but he actually left with intention. I thought it was good. Get his position going forward. He looks over. He sees Giant in the Moonlight is intent on the lead under Manny Franco. It looks as though now he's going to do all the right things here, Israel Rodriguez. He's going to take a hold of him. He's going to back off a little bit. And then he kind of just allowed the horse to run forward and engage a little too much in my estimation.
Well, the other thing is, I mean, you know, we both like aggressive rides, and he did the right thing from the start. He broke sharply and he looked for the lead. But then when a bunch of guys went inside of him, particularly aggressive ride by Manny that you talked about, he had to take the horse back a little bit, and he didn't do that. He didn't take advantage of that position. And Fleeting is not a horse with uncontrollable speed. This is far and away the most speed he's ever shown.
Well, and if you watch his body language here, it's not like he's restraining the horse. He's not fighting him. He's not sending him either. But he's allowing the horse to do whatever he wants to do at this point. And I think this is an apprentice move, and you know I've liked Israel Rodriguez, and I thought he's ridden some good races over the winter. You have to look around and be aware where everybody else is, and you're the horse on the outside, so you have the ability to moderate or control things from there. If he'd have looked back and saw that he had 5-6 lengths on the field, why not just sit still and wait and save some more horse?
Yeah, no, if he had done that, you have to believe this horse would have won. This is almost a remarkable performance. The horse that he's dueling with finishes 4.5 lengths behind him, and that horse was the 7-2 second or third choice in this race, Giant in the Moonlight. The whole cavalry's coming. At this point, I think he's going to finish about 6. They're all going to swallow him up. Not only is he not finished back there, this guy, he fights between horses and almost comes back and wins the race. The winner, the favorite, got a brilliant ride from Murad Ortiz. He was third best. The horse on the outside, a perfect trip, stalking on the outside. Fleeting did all the work.
Yeah, he did all the heavy lifting, and like you said, turn it for home, you said, he's going to get swallowed. And the fact that he kept on fighting, and at one point at the 16th hole, looked like he was going to come back and win. It was a tremendous performance from him. I think that's just when you're a bit inexperienced. you're not as aware of everything else around you, and you have to be very clear about where everybody else is and not just concentrate on one horse.
Yeah, well, that is clear. I'll say one thing, and I think you'll agree. I'd rather see him make mistakes from being aggressive than make mistakes being passive.
Well, I always agree with that, and even when I rode, that was my philosophy. If I was going to make a mistake, let it be an aggressive mistake. I didn't want it to be passive, and then I was a victim. At least I could control my own destiny.
And the other thing is, and I think the bettors, you have to understand this, as a bettor, and I am a bettor, is that if you're betting on apprentices, you are going to get at times inexperienced rides. And you might bet a horse like this. Unfortunately, this horse almost 20-1, you bet it. It's very frustrating.
Sure.
But it's going to happen sometimes because these guys are a work in progress. And the ones who learn from their mistakes, we've seen it with Angel Cruz repeatedly, moving forward from the mistakes he's made. These are the guys, they're going to have big careers ahead of them. And Israel Rodriguez has every bit of as much a chance as anybody.
Oh, absolutely. And that's why they give them an apprentice allowance. There is a learning curve, and you're going against guys that have a lot more experience. So you get that advantage, so to speak. But again, once in a while, you're going to have a situation like this. And it wasn't a glaring mistake.
No.
It was just a subtle thing that he'll learn from and he'll go forward. My question to you, as a bettor, obviously you like Fleeting. Do you worry about this race taking too much out of him?
I think I leave that up to the trainer, and I trust in Leah Giamatti, and I don't think, if she brought this horse back in 2 weeks, I would say that Leah must think he's kicking the barn down.
Sure.
I think it's more likely you're not going to see this horse until the end of the Aqueduct meeting or early at Belmont. I believe she's going to bring him back, and when she does, he'll be ready to run, and I would be very happy to take my chances with him against a similar field. This was a sensational performance from him.
And what kind of price would you look for, you think, off of this performance?
Well, you know, I know he's almost 18-1. Persuasive Devil is almost 9-1. He's twice the price. If these two horses met in a race, and they were all of similar relative talents, I'd be happy to take a shorter price on Fleeting than whatever price Persuasive Devil is. I could let that be my guide.
Okay, I'm just leading you those questions for people out there to what to look for.
I think you always have to, and it's a very good question. You have to judge it. You don't want, people get overexcited, but I don't think this is the kind of trip. People get overwhelmed by horses that steady, they get in trouble.
Yes.
We're talking more about dynamics, and I know you agree. The trips are more about dynamics than they are about trouble.
Well, absolutely, and this was subtle, like we said, but I thought it was a good example to point out when maybe things could have been a little different.
No, they absolutely could have been. Once again, we can always use your help. It's Trips and Traps at NYRing.com.